What's going on, everybody? It's AG here. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at my official preseason college football top 25 for my AG poll. We're about a month out from the official start of the college football season. So, this is going to be my last ranking I'm going to put out before the season starts. As the season goes along, I'll put out weekly top 25s. I'll put out weekly previews for the upcoming week, break down kind of the best matchups of the week. Might even throw in, some weekly playoff predictions, some weekly conference power rankings, stuff like that. So if that sounds like stuff you might be interested in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me if you're not already subscribed. So let's go ahead and look at my official preseason top 25. We've got some changes since the last time. Some teams have dropped out. BYU is a team you'll notice that is not in here anymore. They lost their quarterback, so they're not in here. But starting off at 25, SMU. SMU is a bit of a question mark for me this year. They made the playoff last year. Definitely have a chance to make it back again. But besides their quarterback, Jennings, which was probably the weakest part of their team once they got to the playoff, almost everybody else is gone, whether it's to the portal, whether it's to the draft. They lost a ton of pieces from last year. So I'm a little skeptical. Rhett Lashley has done a good job, though. Admittedly, the head coach, he's kind of, I think he's won like 10 or 11 games every year he's been there. So he's got the benefit of the doubt for me right now, but SMU, a bit of a question mark, got them at 25. 24, Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin has earned the benefit of the doubt for me as well. Now, the reason for skepticism with Ole Miss is their roster this year is definitely not near as strong as it was last year. And if Lane Kiffin couldn't capitalize on that roster last year, you remember it was the number one transfer portal class. If he couldn't capitalize on that class, on that roster with Jackson Dart at quarterback and make the playoff, how the heck is he going to make the playoff with this roster? Got a lot of changes. They do bring in some guys in the portal, but Austin Simmons is a quarterback. How is he going to look? But Kiffin has done a good job there. But if he couldn't make it with the roster he's had the last couple of years, I don't see it happening this year. So I've got them at 24. Could easily drop out of the top 25 though. 23, Minnesota. Minnesota. Let me get comfy for this one. It's going to take a little bit. Minnesota is a sleeper team this year for me. Not saying they're going to make the playoff, but go look at what they did last year. Look at what they've got coming back. Go look at their schedule. Minnesota's a sneaky playoff team this year. PJ Fleck, you'll remember him from like Western Michigan when Corey Davis was there, rowed the boat. He's done a pretty solid job at Minnesota as far as realistic Minnesota expectations. I think this is his best chance to kind of get over the hump, get that 10-plus win season. Probably the most slept on season last year. Really good year. Kept Illinois out of the playoff, actually. Go look at Illinois' schedule last year. If they beat Minnesota, they're probably in the playoff. Minnesota, though, brings a ton of pieces back from that team. I think they're a team to keep an eye on. I got them at 23. 22. Sticking with the Big Ten, Nebraska, you got Dylan Raiola at quarterback. Patrick Mahomes wannabe. He showed some flashes last year. They kind of got some early season hype, got in the top 25, and then kind of went downhill from there. But the key for them, Matt Rule, their head coach, you'll remember him from Baylor, from Temple. He was also at Carolina Panthers. But every time he has been a head coach, the third year is when his teams really hit their stride. They reach that double-digit win season. It's his third year here at Nebraska. I think now's the time Nebraska's going to go over the hump. Not saying they're going to make the playoff, but I could easily see them reaching double-digit wins. They've got a pretty solid roster. And the Big Ten, really minus Ohio State and Penn State, I think it's pretty up for the taking. Nebraska, a team to keep an eye on. 21, Baylor, pretty good year last year. Dave Aranda, the lust is kind of worn off of him. You'll remember him as the DC at LSU when they were really good. Got a lot of hype. I think they won the Big 12 in his first year at Baylor, but really hasn't done much of note since then. But this roster they have this year, they've got two running backs that were over almost 1,000 yards last year. So two running backs that can easily get you a ton of yards, give you some versatile looks in the backfield with two backs, and it gives you insurance if one of those guys happens to get injured. Also got their quarterback coming back, and that's a key piece here is bringing dudes back, especially in the transfer portal era. Guys are going to transfer in, transfer out constantly. Baylor's roster and their schedule, definitely a team to keep an eye on that can make the playoff. Number 20, Kansas State, staying in the Big 12. Avery Johnson is back once again. Not saying this is his best year he's going to have ever, but he's got enough experience now with multiple years starting as the quarterback for Kansas State that Chris Kleiman's got no excuses this year to not win the Big 12. BYU took a step back, losing their quarterback. Arizona State's going to take a little step back, losing Cam Scatterbo. Iowa State is really the only team for me that is above them right now. Kansas State, they play Iowa State week 0. We'll talk about that in another video, but that's an awesome week 0 game to keep an eye on. Don't know why they scheduled that, but Kansas State's got a pretty solid roster. I could see them making a run to the playoff. 19, Vanderbilt, kind of a question mark for me. I had originally had them in my last ranking pretty close to number 10. Diego Pavia, I'm a big fan of his. I've been impressed when I've watched him. And this roster is improved from last year. If you remember, this is the roster last year that beat Alabama. This is the school. Diego Pavia is a dual threat guy that can kind of win you a game by himself. And they improved his passing weapons down the field that I think Vanderbilt's going to be improved this year. I've got them at number 19. Sorry, guys. My voice is a little sore here. Number 18, Georgia Tech. Kind of a similar situation because of the quarterback. They've got Haynes King in quarterback. He can win you a game by himself. He can also, I think, win the ACC by himself, maybe besides Clemson. We saw last year kind of gave Georgia all they wanted in that rivalry game. Georgia Tech is legit. Go look at their schedule. I think they'll be a top 15 team by the end of the season. 17, Louisville. Jeff Brom done a heck of a job at Louisville. Top 10 coach in the country, I would argue. And this roster is legit this year. You got Isaac Brown back at quarterback. You bring in Miller Moss from USC at quarterback. Louisville, I think they got some potential this year. One of them or Georgia Tech, I think, is going to sneak in, not necessarily to the playoff, but I could see them giving trouble to Miami or Clemson. Number 16, Notre Dame. They're another team that's kind of a question mark for me. Yes, they've got the running back in Jeremiah Love, which is going to be a Heisman favorite. But the more you go back and look at it, and I know Notre Dame fans are going to get mad about this, but the more you go back and look at it, look at that playoff run last year, the Natty, that was a lot of a Riley Leonard, and Riley Leonard's gone. Jeremiah Love was out that whole playoff run. Riley Leonard was pretty much all they had on offense at quarterback, and he's gone. So what the heck are you going to do now? Because as good as Jeremiah Love is, he wasn't there when they went on that run. So we'll see. I'm a little skeptical of Notre Dame this year. Same with the team we're going to talk about here in a second. But Notre Dame, I've got at 16. I've moved them up. I think I had them a little lower last time, but Notre Dame at 16. Number 15, Oregon, similar situation. They lose so much from last year's roster that was pretty much almost the entire year number 1 in the country. You got to replace your quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. You got to replace your running back. You've got Dante Moore coming in at quarterback. He was previously at UCLA and started for a little bit. You've got Mekhi Hughes coming in a running back from Tulane. Both really good guys that have put up pretty good numbers, but have not done it in the Big Ten. The Big Ten is a different animal from the Pac-12, from the American Conference. So I'm curious to see what Oregon's made of this year. Dan Lanning's done a solid job there, really good. But I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of Oregon. Number 14, USC, a team that's slowly rising for me. Lincoln Riley, I know it's kind of worn off of him that nobody's a fan of him, but go look at what they did last year at the end of the year with the quarterback they have now. I think it's Mava. I can't think of how to say his name, but anyways, the quarterback they have now, only loss he had last year was to Notre Dame, and it was a pretty close game. So I like the way that USC is trending. I think their defense is going to be improved. They've gotten bigger in the weight room. I saw they fired their strength coordinator and stuff like that, changed all that stuff up. More a fit for the Big Ten instead of the Pac-12. I think USC is a team to keep an eye on. Might sneak into the playoff. Number 13, Iowa State. This is the team right now I think that'll represent the Big 12 in the college football playoff. Again, they play Kansas State week 0. Should be an awesome game. But Matt Campbell, this is probably his best team he has had. They've got multiple year starters at quarterback and running back. 2 guys in the backfield, a running back that can get you over 1,000 yards. Iowa State, team to keep an eye on. In the Big 12. And I think this is the year he finally gets them kind of where they've been trending. They've been flirting with getting over the hump in the Big 12, but haven't quite done it. I think this is the year Iowa State gets the job done. Number 12, Illinois. Pretty solid year last year. Like I said, they were 1 loss away, probably to Minnesota, from making the playoff. Probably going to be this year's Indiana, to where I don't really know how good they are, but they have a good enough schedule and a good enough team. I could see them getting in the playoff. And Brett Bielema has done a good job here. You've got a lot of pieces coming back from last year's team. Luke Altmaier is back at quarterback. And with their schedule, they definitely got a chance to probably be the third best team in the Big Ten, but we'll see. Number 11, Florida. I dropped them a little bit. I had them in Illinois a little higher, but I dropped them. Florida has got a lot of potential this year, though, but I don't know if it's going to hit. Billy Napier, he kind of finally got the extra year, and it's starting to trend up. DJ Lagway at quarterback, probably a top 5 quarterback in the country, definitely athleticism-wise. A lot of potential there. If Florida can stay healthy, I could see them in the playoff. Number 10, LSU. I'm a little questionable on LSU. I think they're going to get a little more hype than they need this year. Garrett Nussmeier is putting up awesome numbers before, but a lot of those numbers have been against weaker competition. Go compare like his non-con competition stats versus the SEC stats. Completely different animal there. And I don't know. Brian Kelly, we'll see. He's been close, like 9 wins, but we'll see. I'm a little skeptical on LSU. So these top 9 right now, minus one of these teams, I think are probably going to be in the playoff. Number 9, Michigan. Disappointing year last year. But the good news is their quarterback play can be nowhere near as bad as it was last year. They brought in 2 guys, Mikey Keene or Bryce Underwood. Probably going to be Bryce Underwood, 5-star quarterback. Going to improve this offense. They had 0 passing game last year. Michigan's going to have a good defense. They're going to be able to run the football. Now they've got a quarterback that is at least can hit the wall with the football. So Michigan, go look at their schedule. I think they might go undefeated. Number 8, Alabama. A bit of a disappointing year last year, year 1 in Kalen DeBoer. They had like a half or a quarter against Georgia where they looked like the best team in the country. After that, it seemed like it was never the same. Alabama, though, I don't know. I'm iffy on Alabama because if Kalen DeBoer couldn't win with that roster he had last year, how's he going to win with this roster? Now, the good news is he's brought in his guys instead of using some of a mix of Saban and his guys, so we'll see. But Alabama, I've got moved up to number 8. They weren't in my top 10 last time. Miami coming in number 7. Mario Cristobal is the question mark for me here. This roster is talented enough to go undefeated and make the playoff. But Cristobal, we've seen time and time again, is a little inept when it comes to in-game strategy and decisions. So we'll see. But Miami has all the roster talent they need. Carson Beck's coming in at quarterback from Georgia. This team should be in the playoff. Number 6, South Carolina. Shane Beamer's most talented team he has had at South Carolina, no doubt. They were this close to making the playoff last year. We saw that. Lenore Sellers, I would argue the best quarterback in the country, probably going to be the number 1 pick in the draft next year, and for good reason. He can throw the ball. He can run the ball. He's big. He can do it all. South Carolina, I think, is going to go undefeated, make the SEC championship, but we'll see if that happens. Number 5, Clemson. So last time I had Clemson at 6, I swapped them in South Carolina. Clemson, ton of NFL talent here. This is probably Dabo's best team he's had since Trevor Lawrence left. Kind of gave Texas a little bit of a run last year in the playoffs, so we'll see. But Clemson should be good enough to go undefeated in the ACC. And Dabo, I think this team's legit this year. They have like 6 to 8 first-round guys that are going to go in the first round of the NFL draft this year. This team is loaded. Number 4, Georgia. This is more just giving Kirby Smart the benefit of the doubt. I've been a little disappointed when I've watched Georgia lately. They just look different to me. They don't look like they used to as far as having the skill guys. Like last year, even when Carson Beck went down in the playoff, Gunnar Stockton was hitting the guys in stride and they just couldn't catch the ball. So if they can improve their skill positions, I think Gunnar Stockton's going to be fine. They're going to be fine in the trenches. They're going to have NFL defensive talent, but they got to improve the running back position, the receivers, the tight ends. I don't know. It looked a little iffy to me last year. Didn't look like the Georgia I know. Number 3, Ohio State have arguably the 2 best players in the country, Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, but they have to replace so much talent from last year. And then if they went to the NFL, there's going to have to be a little bit of a drop off. You lost your quarterback, obviously, Will Howard. Now, I don't think there's going to be too much of a drop off there, but you are throwing in an inexperienced guy at quarterback. But running back wise, you got to replace 2 dudes that could just go off at any moment. You got to replace receiver, Emeka Ibuka. You've got to replace defensively your 2 pass rushers, Jack Sawyer and JT Tomolo. You got to replace a lot of guys. But Ryan Day, besides beat Michigan, he's done it all. He's proven that he's pretty consistent. So Ohio State coming in number 3, they'll be in the playoff again. Number 2, Texas. Um, I think you could flip 1 and 2 either which way, whatever way you want to go. Texas, I think it's going to depend on Arch Manning and kind of the skill positions. Defensively, they're going to have arguably the best defense in the country. Them or Penn State probably. Running back room wise, same thing. I think you could argue one of those two teams probably has the best running back room. You've got Trey Wisner, which got a lot of run last year when CJ Baxter went down, but CJ Baxter's coming back. You've got to replace the skill positions on offense. Arch Manning looked good in the games we saw, but that wasn't against tough competition. So we'll see once he actually goes through, an SEC slate. They were one play away the last 2 years from making the national championship. Now, the only drawback is that was with Quinn Ewers. I know he wasn't the most flashy, but the dude did win ball games. He did get you to the semis and almost the national championship both years. We'll see what Texas is made of this year. Sarkisian has all the pieces in place, and this year I think it's as big of a coin flip as any on who is the team that's going to win the national championship. I picked it right the last 2 years. I picked Michigan 2 years ago. I picked Ohio State this past year. This year, I really don't know. I think it's a coin flip between probably these top 3 teams. I think you could throw Clemson in there. I don't think Georgia wins it, but I think you could throw Clemson in there. But Texas is definitely going to be in the hunt with the pieces they have and as big of a question mark as everybody is. But number 1 right now, I've got Penn State. They returned so much talent. Last year, they should have beat Notre Dame. They had no reason losing to that team. Drew Aller is back at quarterback. I know he's looked a little iffy, a little spotty at times, but he started a ton of games for you. He's got first-round potential. Drew Aller is definitely a good piece to have in place at quarterback returning. Running back room-wise, you've got Singleton and Allen, 2 guys that could probably start on any team in the country. Defensively, you've got a ton of talent all over the field. Now, you do lose your D-end and you lose your tight end, Tyler Warren. You've got to replace those guys, but I think they've brought in and have and developed better downfield threats than Penn State has had in a long time. So I think Drew Aller's got some deep threats that he can hit down the field to kind of help them spread out the defense and really get that run game going a little bit. But the defense is key here. Don't turn the ball over. Play good defense. Same key for Penn State and Texas. Right now, I really don't know. If you had to ask me today who's winning the national championship, I'd probably go Penn State, but I don't feel as confident as I have the past couple of years. But that is my official preseason top 25. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to be putting out weekly top 25s once the season starts, weekly previews, weekly matchup previews, all that good stuff. So if you're not already, hit that subscribe button for me. But let me know your thoughts on my top 25 down in the comment section. Make sure to like this video and subscribe.